All right, I haven't done a live in a really long time. Ooh, I might have started too early. I have not done a live in quite a while, maybe even 2 years. So please bear with me as I kind of dive back in. And also because today might get a little emotional. I am here to talk about the last 9 years. 9 years ago, I flatlined for 8 minutes, left my body, and had a very, very profound NDE experience or near-death experience. And I am here to talk about everything that's happened since. I have shared my story tons of times, especially like leading up to the NDE itself. If you want to listen to any of those, or some of the more profound effects it's had in the way that I get to help people. You can find all of that on my website, which should be linked in this live video. If not, I will mention it at the end. So today is a day of reflection for me, and it's full of gratitude, full of emotion, and just, yeah, a huge day of reflection. Woke up and, meditated and just reflected on what the last 9 years has really meant for me. And I'm going to be raw, I'm going to be real, and for anyone who listens to NDEs or reads about them, a lot of people do leave out the ugly part of the aftermath of NDEs. And I'm not leaving that out today. But of course, I'm going to include all the amazing blessings and knowledge that has come with it. So if you're ready, I'm ready, and I'm gonna dive in. So today, of course, marks 9 years since I died and survived. And what happened after isn't necessarily what you would expect. When I came back, I definitely wasn't the same. First off, I could hear people's thoughts. I could hear plants' thoughts. I could feel pain in my own body. I could feel other people's pain in my own body. And everything was louder, heavier, and way more overwhelming. And a lot of people don't talk about just exactly how it feels to come back into a body after you've left it. The best way I could describe it is it felt like I was being shoved into a tight, suffocating container. Like I was this expansive energy that had no boundaries and could be anywhere and anything. And then I came back and I was like shoved into a sausage casing, just ready to explode. And that was extremely tough, especially after experiencing something so infinite and expansive. And I was terrified. It was terrifying. Everything felt dense and hard and immovable and just restricting. So the first year following my NDE, I went into a really deep depression. I did not want to be here anymore because I knew what existed beyond this life. I missed it. I craved it. I didn't understand this. And I knew what was beyond this. And I even took drastic steps to trying to go back. I'm sure you can fill in those lines of what I'm talking about. So it was a really dark year of depression and a different type of survival. I had already gone through survival of illness and trauma and abuse before my NDE, and then I got there and it was just immense love and like any possibility, every possibility, no judgment, no pain, no fear, none of that. So I did not want to be here. And a lot of people, the more I talk to one-on-one, especially off camera or just in conversation, they also experience this. And no one really likes to talk about just how dark and depressing it can be to come back. Whether or not you sustained a lot of trauma in your body and then you're also trying to recover from that and you're physically not well, but just the psychological, mental, soulful impacts of everything is extremely, extremely overwhelming. All the time I hear, oh, if I could just have an NDE, it would get the knowledge and solve all my problems. A lot of people don't understand. Usually, to have an NDE, you have to have some kind of very traumatic event first. And then when you come back, it's not like everything just fixes overnight. Or, as I will describe, not even 9 years later. So was really, really depressed for a year. And when I realized I had to stay here, I, about a year later, found International Association for Near-Death Studies, or IANDS, and I also started volunteering in hospice care. Part of me volunteered just because I really wanted to be close to that threshold again, and another part really wanted to help people not be afraid to cross it. And I really enjoyed my time in hospice. I was mostly in the memory ward, so I didn't have conversations with these people. I just got to hold space and energy and authentic energy because, they might be scared. Their families are definitely scared for them. And I could just hold authentic, excited energy for them. But I still had no idea what all this was about. So I went back to my corporate job in marketing in the AEC industry, the architecture, engineering, and construction field that I'd, climbed the ladder for since I was 18. And this whole time, I'm still trying to understand, what is the point of being here? What is the point of suffering? What is the point of any of this? And it would take about 5 years for me to actually accept what had happened, that I truly had an NDE experience and that something had shifted monumentally inside of me. But even then, my life did not magically change. The next 4 years were filled with more illness, more isolation, and honestly, being completely broke. Being broke financially, being broke on a mental, emotional, and soul level. And I just could not wrap my mind around why we have to work just to survive or participate in systems that felt so disconnected from the truth. So I was living in something that was so anti-soul. It was so just, just the box that the world had put me in, the box that the world had trained me to be in. And I didn't know what else to do, so I was trying to live in that box, knowing that it went against everything I had learned and everything I felt. So around year 6 or 7, something started to shift. I began researching different cultures, different religions, other NDE experiences, and I started to see a pattern that from the moment we're born, we are slowly taught to forget where we came from and how powerful we actually are. And that is when I started breaking out of that box. I left my corporate career. I dove into meditation, into healing, and to really understanding consciousness. And what I learned did absolutely change everything. I learned our thoughts create our reality, that we are not here to avoid pain, we came here to experience it. And that shift really started to change my outlook on my past illnesses, my past traumas, my past pain, hurt, and suffering, and push it into oh, I came here to get to experience this. I get to experience the pain, the suffering, the trauma, and it just shifted me into a mode of gratefulness. And we're not here to experience pain because we're being punished. We didn't do something horrific in a past lifetime that we are now paying for in this lifetime. I talk about how I personally believe, based on my own experiences and research, that past lives are actually not lived consecutively, but concurrently. So you can't do something in the past because time only exists here. It's actually, things are happening on so many different levels. And we came here because this human experience offers something that the higher realms don't: contrast, growth, depth. And on the other side, there's a space of pure, unconditional love, and where reality responds instantly to thought. And I learned also how that translates to our life here. that thoughts actually do create our own reality. Our thoughts and our feelings that we put out all day, every day, can and do change our reality over time. So today, 9 years later, I've spoken internationally. I've written books I never imagined writing because honestly, I didn't even like reading as a kid. And I never thought I'd be a writer. I didn't like journaling, I didn't like writing. And here I am. I've written 5 books, 3 of them have 4 awards, and it's just mind blowing. I've also become a death doula and transition guide. So, I left corporate America. I left the marketing and construction and architecture and engineering and started my own business. And I get to help people navigate grief, illness, and even their own awakenings because awakening and spiritual transformations are not easy. They are some of the most difficult things we will do. And I think the reason it's so difficult is because we have to do it internally. It's not something someone else is doing to us. It's not something we can blame someone else for. We do it because we're meant to reawaken to who we really are. We're meant to break out of that box. I've shared my stories in documentaries, on podcasts, through hundreds of conversations with people, just trying to understand their own experiences. I mentioned if you want to actually hear more of how my NDE happened, or what happened during my NDE, or how it has transformed how I'm able to help people, there's probably 100, if not close to 100, different podcasts that are free to view on my website at brioniccllc.com/interviews. I just put them all there. They're all YouTube ones. The ones that are on Spotify or just podcast and audio, I haven't learned how to link those. So there's plenty on YouTube though, and you can search my name on Google and just find out just about anything that you want on my story. One of the other huge things is before my NDE, I didn't feel worthy of love and I didn't love myself. After my NDE, I learned how to love myself and just never found anyone that matched me where I was or was on the same growth trajectory. And the most unexpected thing is I found love and I found a healthy, beautiful relationship with an amazing partner when I fully accepted that my life might just be meant to walk alone, which a lot of NDEers do. And I accepted that because I found self-love, I found self-compassion, and I always will have my mom and my sister. And I was like, I'm happy with that. And I get married in 2 months, and I just did not think that was a possibility for me or in my life script, in my life soul's contract. And it is absolutely beautiful and amazing. And 9 years later, after my NDE, I just never thought it would happen. So I think the biggest thing is what started as the most terrifying experience of my life became the most meaningful. 9 years ago, I did not want to be here, and today I'm deeply, deeply grateful that I am. And the biggest lessons are, if you have an NDE or a spiritual awakening, it doesn't mean your life is suddenly better. It doesn't mean everything is fixed. I'm still facing different chronic illnesses, even though I healed from one. There's more that pop up. There's been several close calls again. Um, one of my doctors asks, "How many out of 9 lives are you on?" And I tease him like, "I'm on the third cat," because there's just like so many times that I could have checked out. And apparently, I'm not meant to. And I really channel that into my purpose. And I really feel strongly that my purpose is being here to help other people, being here to help people through their own grief, their own illness, their own awakenings, their own pain, because we're here together. A lot of people, and what was really hard at the beginning was coming back and just seeing how cruel people are to each other, how dense this world is, how misled we are and misguided, and how we are stripped of who we are on a soul level to fit into the box that society wants us to be in. And the more we learn to work together, to love together, and to deal with our own pain so it doesn't transition onto another person, that's really going to help our self evolve. It's going to help our lives. When you vibrate at a higher frequency and you are full of gratitude and love instead of hate and resentment and blame, your frequency attracts other people on these higher frequencies. And together, the more people you get together, the bigger the impact. So our energies are all connected. They don't just stay within our body, even though it feels like it, and we feel very constricted. Our energy goes everywhere. And you can send it across the world. You can send it to another soul without even, meeting them in person. And it's really amazing when we start to work together and love together, we can actually change the world. And I call confirmation bias of the soul or the mind. So, confirmation bias, if you're not familiar, is when, like in debate, you do all this research, but you only present the research that supports your side, or you try to knock down the, evidence of the other person, but the other person only supports or provides the evidence that supports their side. Well, if you think the world is bad and hateful and dark and tragic, you're going to find that information. You're going to listen to the media. You're going to hear these horror stories. You're going to find all the information that supports it. Also, your thoughts attract your reality. If you are looking for the good of people and the gratefulness of people and the love of people, you can find it. There are groups everywhere that behind the scenes are trying to change the world in a beautiful way. And it's just by vibrating at a higher frequency together. And so, what you believe is what you're going to find. So, the more you believe that there is beauty and love, and compassion, and togetherness in this world, the more you're going to find it and the more you're going to attract it. The more you think it's a hateful, horrific place, the more you're going to see that. And so you could spiral upwards or you could spiral downwards. And I am just really grateful because I spiraled downwards for a really long time. I even spiraled downwards after my NDE for quite a few years. And only recently have I been able to spiral upwards in the last few years. And I really want to share that with everybody. I really want to give people hope. I want to give people a reason. And I want people to understand there is a purpose, that there is a purpose in our pain. And it's not just to pass levels, it's not just to grow our own souls, it is to grow together and break out of this box. So if you have any questions, throw them in the comments. You want to look me up, you can Google me, go to my website, bri0nicllc.com, and you can find my books. You can listen to any of the 100 podcasts I've done, just find out more information about me. I'm pretty much an open book these days. If you don't feel comfortable putting something in the comments, DM me. I'm pretty responsive. If we are not friends on Facebook, though, it might get lost in the hidden section. So you can just comment that, hey, I sent you a DM, and then I'll go look for it. You can also email me through my website. You can find my email address on my website, and I'd be more than happy to help and, talk you through whatever you're going through. So today is a day that I am very appreciative for. I still don't know how I've made it here. I was positive I was going to die before I was 28, and I did. Didn't know I'd survive it. And here I am living a beautiful life that I'm super grateful for. So thank you all for everyone who's joined me, who's been along with me on this journey, who's just started to join this journey, and for those that we've been on a soul journey this whole time. And I just appreciate everyone's love, compassion, kindness, gratitude, encouragement, and hopefully we can all help each other.